G'day guys, this is Rob from Troutlore.com.au, Australia's fly tying specialist store. Today we're tying the CDC Caddis. It's a Sedgehog style caddis pattern, very simple to tie, although it's mostly CDC on top rather than deer hair with just a little deer underneath. 3 materials essentially, floats like cork and gets the fish looking up. So let's get started. I'm going to begin with an Ahrex FW531 hook in a size 12. You can use the 530 with a barb. This is the barbless version, or any similar style dry fly hook. Then some Veevus 16.0 in brown, starting just behind the hook eye, and then we're going to work that thread back down the hook shank and come to a rest as it starts getting into the bend. Just trim off the excess there, and then a bit of our wonder wax on that thread, and in comes the next material, which is Chuck and Duck's Peacock Herl blend in their Hare and Squirrel dubbing. So we're only going to need a very small amount of this. It's just to coat the hook shank on the underside. So we'll work a very tiny amount on to create a really fine noodle, and then bring that back down so it kicks into the bend slightly. Once the dubbing noodle is caught on the hook shank, we start wrapping up the shank over the bend, extend that down and put some more wax on, and then another small pinch of dubbing. Easy just to do it in shorter lengths like this, so you're not having to work with a really long noodle. You end up throwing your elbow out as you're trying to wrap around the hook shank. Easy to keep it short and keep applying more. So here we go, we're up onto the flat section now, and we're coming up and finishing about a 1/4 inch behind the hook eye. Then I'm just going to preen that up and trim out the longer stuff just to keep it nice and short and spiky. We'll brush out a little bit more later on. The next material is some select deer hair. This is our own white-tailed deer hair from that patch. We'll just trim out a piece. We're going to take about a clump that just marries up to about the size of the hook gape, and then that's going to be preened out to get rid of fluffy stuff into our hair stacker. And there we go, grab that, and we just want that to come to the end of the hook bend. So putting it in place there, changing fingers, and then trimming that back before it reaches the hook eye. Then we'll put an anti-clockwise spin in that thread and a couple of loose wraps over the deer hair, and then pull up to bind it down. And we can come forward over the bare hook shank to lock that thread in place, and then work back over those stubs of deer hair. And we just loosely run the thread back, bring it forward just to hold that deer in place. As you can see, it's not a huge amount, it's just putting a slight underwing on there. To create the wing itself, we're then going to use Upavon natural grey CDC feathers. With this, we're going to stack 2 or 3 feathers at a time together. In order to do it, take an old mobile phone, everyone's got loads of them lying around, give the screen a clean, and we're going to use that to stack our hair on, our feathers, because they stand out beautifully on that clear black surface. So we can then align the tips of those feathers quite nicely, although I can't do it whilst holding the phone in one hand. So I'm going to put that on the bench and line them up, and I'll bring the 3 feathers back once they're in place. So using that black surface, it allows you to see the tips very, very clearly and get your feathers all into a bunch. And you preen them down so that the tips are aligned. The first stack is going to go to the same length as the deer hair. A couple of wraps back, pull up to secure it, and then a wrap underneath so that that thread locks in, and then we can trim off the excess stubs and bind that down properly into place. Then we're going to repeat the process with a few more feathers. Just stack them here out of sight, get them aligned again, and bring them in just slightly shorter, about 1/8 of an inch. Tie them in again, 2 loose wraps, pull up tight, 1 wrap in front, and we can trim that off, bind that down. At this point we're just going to put just a spot of dubbing, just the tiniest amount, to fill in the underside as we're working up between those stacks of CDC. So that goes on. We just trim off those stragglers and then grab another stack of CDC feathers, pinch them together, and bring those tips again about 1/8 of an inch shorter than the last one. 2 loose wraps on there and pull it up. Trim off the stubs. And finally another 3 feathers, this time really short. We're trimming off more than we're actually tying on. Putting a wrap underneath to secure the thread. Trim off those tips and then bind that down. There. Then finally, just to shape out the head, a little extra dubbing. Start off with a very fine needle, like so. Keep it nice and short, and that's just going to go in place to hold down that CDC. And maybe just a little more, just to get the shape of the head. Even just a touch more. It's easy just to keep adding. Once you put it on, you can't really take it off easily, but you can always add more if you haven't put enough on. So just bring that back, tighten that needle up as we wrap forward. There we go. Now find our whip finisher. Put 3 or 4 turn whip finish in there. At this stage we'll just trim off some of those stragglers and put a second whip finish on. There you go, that's not going anywhere. I'll just bring out my longer scissors and come in and trim that out. And finally, get the dubbing brush in there. Give it a good scrub underneath just to rough up that dubbing. Give the appearance of some legs. And trim off anything that's sticking forward. And there you have it. It's a fairly simple pattern to tie, only 3 materials. It has a great little sedgy look, perfect for this autumn time of year, although it'll fish all year round, and it floats, well, until the fish eats it, and then you need to swap it out for another one. Of course, all the materials are available at the Troutlore fly tying store on our website as usual. You will see in the description below down there links to all the products. If you have any questions, fire away. Please send me an email, leave questions in the comments. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button and please subscribe to our channel for more great content. As always, happy tying!